What's going on, everyone? It's Bird back with another brew of the week. Are you looking for a new deck? Looking for something cheap to build, but powerful? Got the deck for you this week. This week we're going to be building Pia Nalaar, Console of Revival. So the idea is to build this as a $50 budget deck that you can upgrade with some sweet upgrade pieces. We actually have some of those going to be listed later in the video, so stay around for that. But if you're just looking for upgrades, you can go straight to that section. But first, let's go over our commander. Pia Nalaar Console of Revival is a 2 mana, a red and a white, 2/3 legendary creature human artificer with 2 abilities. The first ability gives Thopters you control haste, a handy keyword to have as it means that we can get pretty aggressive with our Thopters. The second ability is going to be our bread and butter of our deck, however. When we play a land from exile or cast a spell from exile, we create a 1/1 Thopter artifact creature token with flying. This is a great ability that will set the deck off, so having Pia out early is a must for this deck. So now we can talk about our gameplay loop. What does our overall game plan look like? Well, what we want is to have Pia early, and then start the process of exiling cards from the top of our deck to create both card advantage and value to drown our opponents in game actions. So with our gameplay loop in line, let's talk about how we'll win the game. We have a couple of options here: building a board of Thopters and then pumping them with a plethora of effects at our disposal, or dealing non-combat damage through a vast array of beams. You can go ahead and get into the actual cards in the deck. As you know by now, I love to go over my foundational effects. So let's start with card draw. A lot of Pia's card draw is what's going to be impulse draw. This is whenever an effect allows you to exile the top card of your library until end of turn or until end of your next turn. There is a difference between the two cards, so you have to pay attention to the exiling timing and when and where you can use those. But we also have pure card draw that lets us keep some cards in our hand so we have options on what to play. So cards such as Reckless Impulse, Ren's Resolve, Light Up the Stage, Rob the Archives, Wild Wasteland, and Embrace It Alone all give us that important impulse draw effect, while we have some straight up card draw for stuff like Staff of the Storyteller, Into the Fire, Benny Brax, Idol of Oblivion, and Demand Answers. A couple of these are going to be repeatable card draw, and then others are going to be burst card draw. So having both of those at our disposal, as well as our impulse draw, it's just going to give us a lot of options on what to do in the game. Let's go over our removal next. So our removal package this time around is actually really nice. We have access to some wonderful spells and Boros. Requisition Raid is a new card from OTJ that I'm pretty high on. All 3 modes are relevant here, so it makes it a powerhouse in this deck. Other cards that fill our needs for removal are going to be like Swords to Plowshares, Path to Exile, Dispatch in this deck, Kabira Takedown, Stroke of Midnight, Wear and Tear, and stuff like Rip Apart. These cards are going to give us answers to the question that are our opponent's problems permanents. The board wipes I put in here at our disposal this time around are going to be Our Reckoning, so we can keep our Thopters and stay on the offensive, and Dust It On. With this board wipe, we can typically ensure that we can keep Pia as long as possible while ridding the board of our opponent's creatures. Let's go on the ramp package, shall we? Here in our ramp package, we have a good bit of the more common ramp sources: Soul Ring, Wayfarer's Bauble, Arcane Signet, Fell War Stone, Talisman of Conviction, Liquid Metal Torque to start off. But we also have a bit of uncommon picks such as Springleaf Drum, Archaeomancer's Map, and Claim Jumper. Springleaf Drum turns Pia or a Thopter into a mana dork, while Archaeomancer's Map and Claim Jumper ramps us with White's catch-up mechanics. Having ramp for Pia is really important as it enables bigger plays for Pia and more Pia triggers. Next, I only have a couple of spice picks to go into this time around. Our first spice pick is going to be Pyretic Charge. Sure, we have to discard our hand, but it has the plot mechanic, so it allowed us to set up for a great turn when we have a critical mass of Thopters. This card's ceiling is just super high, and I love the work that it can put in. Next, we have Brazen Cannonade. Whenever an attacking creature we control dies this turn, It deals 2 damage to each opponent. In addition to that, we exile a card from the top of our library until the end of combat on your next turn. You can play that card. This can turn our little Thopters into huge damage if our opponent even has blockers for them, but it also gives us an exile card to cast with and get a trigger from Pia. Next, we'll go over a suite of cards. I have Reckless Fireweaver, Witty Roastmaster, and Ingenious Artillers to whittle down our opponent's life totals in no time. And these will definitely change the game in our favor once we start making those wonderful Thopters. So these are 5 cards that I have in the Spice category. Let's go over some upgrades, shall we? War Leader's Call is a card that I would have loved to include in this deck as it does everything we want. But at $9, it's hard to fit in the deck right now. It gives a team-wide buff and acts as an additional pinger for our deck. This is definitely worth to look if you have the funds. Jessica's Will is a powerhouse when it comes to deck like this, but something else that's powerful is that price tag of $18. The modes of creating mana or exiling 3 cards are both things we want to do in this deck. Definitely strong, but something you can forego if you don't have the cast to drop on it. Bonehorde Dracosaur is another card perfect for this deck. At the beginning of your upkeep, you exile the top 2 cards of your library, and we can play them this turn. If we exile a land, we make a 3/1 dinosaur. If we exile a non-land, we make a treasure. It also has flying and first strike, by the way, so it's a great card, which is probably why it's sitting around $11 right now. Another hitter we have from Lost Caverns of Ixalan is going to be Chimmel the Inner Sun. The 6-mana artifact with spells you control can't be countered. And at the beginning of your end step, discover 5, which can amass a bunch of free value as we get those discover triggers so we can cast free spells. Last, I'll talk about a card I will advise most getting, and that's Passionate Archaeologist, which will give Pia the ability whenever you cast a spell from exile, this creature deals damage equal to the spell's mana value to target opponent. We can just start dealing tons of damage with this to our opponents, and the price tag shows it sitting at $18 right now. So this is my preview of Bert's Brew of the Week this time around. The deck list is in the description for your perusal. Thank you for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe. Be sure to check out my other videos featuring my deck techs. So far we have Arami, Faldorn, and Selvala. Until next time, take care.